Sup peeps, Rockskull here. With the release of the remastered Valguro and ARK Survival Ascended, every official map now has a unique boss. Well, besides the center. You deserve better. I thought with all these new and old bosses, I should rank them based on difficulty. Note that I will be looking at the remastered ASA counterparts for the older bosses, but still I will be going to ASE to look at the currently not remastered ones. Before we begin, I wanted to mention very quickly that I will be doing my yearly December charity stream for World Central Kitchen here on YouTube Saturday, December 13th with some friends. ARK in particular will be 4 to 8 PM CST, so feel free to stop by and donate if you can. With that out of the way, let's get into the boss difficulty ranking, starting with what I think is the easiest. I actually struggled a bit with this last place ranking, as there are two bosses I think are both pretty equally easy to fight. However, I think I'm going to go with the Manticore from Scorched Earth being the easiest boss to fight in ARK. The Manticore does a mix of land and fly fighting with a ton of attacks that apply torpor. This torpor can be scary if you fail to take it into account before fighting, but otherwise there isn't really much to this boss. Its health, even if we account for resistances on alpha, is one of the lowest of any boss in the game. It doesn't really do a ton of damage itself either, with honestly a good bit of the damage only coming in from the rock golems and death worms that spawn in the ground later on. You do have the option to bring flyers in this fight though, so at that point the minions are literally useless when they spawn in if you go that route. In general, in my opinion, a lackluster fight on a fairly lackluster map I was hoping would get better on the remaster, but this ended up not being the case. Next we got a boss that I could definitely see an argument for being in last place, the Megapithecus. This guy on ARK Survival Evolved's launch actually used to be one of the most deadly bosses in the game, as the rocks he throws could hit your player. This luckily has been removed. But now the Megapithecus doesn't have much in terms of strength compared to the other bosses. The only reasons I have it above the Manticore is that it spawns in some monkey minions that can be annoying, and the rock move still does big damage. There's also a big environmental hazard to its arena with a hole that insta-kills your tames. This can be devastating if ARK AI decides to not be on your side for the fight. Still, most of these things are easily counterable, and having one of the lowest boss health in the game at 540,000 usually means it gets shredded. In 15th place, we have the Broodmother, a boss I feel is quite underrated in terms of strength by the game itself, but at the same time, it does have very apparent weaknesses. One of the most important things to me is that the Broodmother actually has the same amount of health as the dragon on alpha, so it can take quite a while to take down. It also does quite a bit of damage with its ranged attack and melees, and its little Aranio minions will likely be constantly slowing you with webs, meaning running is not an option. Aranios will likely be getting massive buffs soon with the TLC too, so honestly this fight could become one of the toughest in the game with how high their levels are. Still, an easy counter to the Broodmother's shenanigans is the Megatherium. These guys get a massive damage and resistance buff for killing any bug, so the constant Aranios make this fight a breeze for them. Rex rushing works great too still, as the sheer health and damage of the Rexes is usually enough to overwhelm the Broodmother. Overall, a decently tough fight that can be countered with basic strats. This 14th place spot I had a bit of trouble deciding on, but I think it's going to go to the Desert Titan on Extinction. This big flying manta ray thing that has some pretty deadly attacks, but is not the worst to fight due to its low health pool and poor AI. Pretty much the Desert Titan will just spam this lightning attack at you that's fairly easy to dodge, and the flock, which is something that can be really annoying and deadly because they dismount you. The only reason I don't have the Desert Titan lower is because its AI did get slightly smarter. Otherwise this fight shouldn't be too big of an issue for you if you spam high level Wyvern / RGs. In 13th we have our first currently ASE exclusive boss, Rockwell Prime from Genesis Part 2. This fight is pretty scripted compared to most others, with you going in an exomech a lot of the time to kill Rockwell. However, the sheer amount of corrupted survivors that attack you can overwhelm you and your creatures quickly if you aren't careful. There's also the poison attacks Rockwell himself does that can hurt your player even while on a tame, but as long as you know how to dodge it, it shouldn't be too bad. If you bring R Reapers and good level Shadow Mains the map provides, this fight can be done pretty easily. Going back to Extinction, 12th has the Forest Titan. This dude is the tankiest of the tameable titans with 400,000 health, and has some deadly attacks like a grab that can instantly kill your player. This can be easily countered with a mech though, and the Gigas or Dreadnoughtus the map now provides in ASA really makes this fight a breeze. Pretty much the same thing can be said for the Ice Titan at 11th place, but even though it has less health, its attacks I'd argue are far deadlier. The main ones of note are the attacks that can straight up freeze you in your tames, as if you don't dodge properly, it will give him a free hit or two on whatever he freezes. As mentioned though, Dreadnoughtus or a Giga army will still shred this guy, so it's not the most tough thing in the world. In 10th place we have the Crystal Wyvern Queen from Crystal Isles, a fairly tough flying boss that has the abilities of all the Crystal Wyverns on the map, and can literally have babies grow up in front of you to kill you. It does really solid damage with a lot of health too, at around 950,000 on alpha Alpha. I think the reason this fight isn't a higher tier for me is because the landing of the Crystal Wyvern feels a lot less RNG compared to something like the Dragon, meaning it is very possible to bring a mix of land creatures like Rexes and flyers like RGs or Wyverns to this fight and have a decent time, since it allows it. Ninth, we have the Nunatak, or Ice Wyvern Queen from Ragnarok. I debated putting this boss below the Crystal Wyvern Queen, but I do actually think it is harder due to restrictions and stats. Like, you just can't bring flyers in general for this fight, and the Ice Wyvern Queen herself really does not like landing. She'll just constantly summon these ice worms and throw slow-moving attacks in your direction. This with her 1,250,000 health stat on Alpha makes this typically a super long, drawn-out fight compared to others. Besides her bite attacks on the ground though, this boss doesn't actually do a ton of damage, so as long as you got tanky ground creatures, you will typically come out on top. 8th place goes to the Dinopithecus King from Lost Island in ASE, and man is this boss annoying as crap to fight. First off, it's got these Dinopithecus flying around with cinema crops that throw grenades and poop at you constantly. There's not much you can do about them since you obviously aren't allowed to bring flyers in this fight, so you will just get constant grenades thrown your way. The boss itself also has a leaping attack that will constantly dismount you, so you do not want to get close to this boss at all. Dinopithecus minions can also be on the ground and riding a Margosaurus. The only not so bad thing about this fight is that the boss can be pinned down if you have the army for it, making it so it cannot jump away to escape for an easy kill. 7th place goes to Fenris, who's from Fjordor, and this guy is also a pretty annoying boss. First off, he's extremely tanky on Alpha with 1.2 million health. He can freeze you, which is extremely deadly, similar to the Ice Titan. He does pretty insane damage, and his pretty deadly Fenrir minions seem to have a common habit of just targeting the player. Overall, simply a tough fight, not much else to say. 6th goes to the classic dragon boss fight from the island. This one has been known by many over the years to be plain ridiculous in terms of toughness for one good reason: that dang fire breath attack. If any of your creatures get hit by it, no matter what, they will lose 20% of their health, which is just insane. It's a bit RNG how frequent it will use this attack, and also a bit RNG if it will even land, similar to the Manticore or Ice Wyvern Queen. While it's in the air, it spawns in minions like Pteranodons and Dimorphodons, which can straight up kill your player even while on a tame. Even with all of this, I wouldn't consider the Dragon Boss the worst in ARK because of the Therizino Veggie Cake strat, making that percentage-based damage not as bad. 5th goes to the King Titan from Extinction, and I want to specifically say the Beta King Titan. The Alpha King Titan I actually consider easier because you have access to the Mega Mech, making the fight a bit of a breeze. The Beta King Titan fight though, you do not have access to it, making it actually kind of scary with all the King Titan's high damage attacks. You really can't ride in anything other than a mech yourself, as the meteors that drop down from the sky will do insane damage to your player on normal tames. And well, the King Titan just does insane damage in general. Now, despite the King Titan having stats that should make it the toughest boss in the game, if you bring the tamed Alpha Ice Titan and Alpha Forest Titan to these fights, it's not that bad. You can bring a big Giga/Dreadnoughtus army too that can make this fight a bit easier for you. It's a lot of work to do this stuff, but if you put in the effort, the Beta King Titan will go down. Now in 4th place, we got the Overseer. I actually thought of putting this boss a lot lower on the ranking, until I remembered the Tech Cave should also probably be included with it. It's my opinion that it should be because how you do in the Tech Cave will greatly affect how you do in this boss fight. I won't discuss that Tech Cave in full here, since I already did in my Island Cave ranking video you can check out on the top right here. But all you need to know is that it's really freaking hard. Getting to the boss fight itself, the Overseer just has a ton going on that can really overwhelm you if you aren't prepared. Beams that can stun you off your tame, the sheer amount of robot minions it sends at you, and its ability to turn into any boss can really screw you over if you are unlucky. Specifically, it has the possibility to turn into the dragon twice during the fight. And yeah, it can use that crazy fire breath attack, eating 20% of your creature's health no matter what. If you got through the Tech Cave well, however, this is one of the few fights you can straight up bring 50 creatures for, which is an insane advantage if you're able to. Being able to fly with tech armor can really carry you as well. 3rd place goes to the most recent boss edition as of making this video, the Grendel on Valguro Ascended. Besides the 2 bosses above this one, when I was making my Valguro guide video, I've never struggled so much with simply beating the boss to come up with strategies ever until I fought the Grendel. This fight is insane with the constant darkness and the bleed attacks the boss and minions will constantly be doing to you. As we discussed in the dragon section, percentage-based attacks are simply crazy when it comes to boss fights. This means the typical options like Rexes will not work for the fight unless they have the best possible stats. Instead, similar to the dragon, you have to go the Therizino route, but I'd argue this fight is much tougher than the dragon because whatever you are riding has a high chance of dying. You just will be constantly bleeding, so you are kind of on a timer to kill the boss before the bleed kills you, making the fight extremely tough. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention, just like the dragon fight, the boss can jump away to become non-attackable, and it spawns in vultures which can straight up attack your player. 2nd place has to go to the Rockwell Aberration boss fight. This one is just so different to most others as you cannot attack Rockwell himself straight away. Instead, you are forced to go around the whole arena shooting tentacles before the boss is even damageable. The most common strat is using a rock drake with a shotgun to destroy tentacles around the whole arena. arena, which means this fight requires a crap ton of mechanical skill. Most of the boss fights in ARK, you send in your creatures to do the work, but typically not this one. There's element balls you have to worry about that do crazy damage to your player, Reapers in later rounds, and a tentacle attack he can do that of course can pull you off your tame. Now finally, in first, we got the Corrupted Master Controller from Genesis Part 1. Similar to Rockwell and Aberration, simply so different and prolonged to most others. This one is even more insane to me though, as unlike the Aberration fight, you are forced to be on foot to pick up keys that drop from dead creatures. It means you have to literally be in the middle of all the fighting that's going on. And trust me, there is a lot of fighting. The fight spawns in an infinite amount of corrupted creatures, and these get more difficult the further into the fight you go. For example, Reapers and Gigas that bleed you can spawn. That final round in general is just insane, as the Master Controller will also periodically do these stunning beam attacks that can be devastating. This is a fight that forces you to be on the move, so an ability that forces you in place pretty much means GG if you get hit by it. Overall, a crazy fight I can't wait to see remastered in ASA. That's going to conclude my ranking for every boss in ARK though. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and you can let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Remember to stop by that charity stream if you can, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
Rock skull. All he wants to do is stream all night. Lobby full, rock skull. Never gonna play with me, but it's alright.